I know I'm wearing a Mercedes shirt, but I promise I'm not biased, right? I stole this shirt from my brother, and if you're watching this, I'm sorry. I'm just never gonna give it back. Right. Lewis Hamilton has been my favorite driver for as long as I can remember watching F1. Lewis Hamilton has been in F1 for almost as long as I've been alive. He debuted in 2007. I was born in 2006. So I never really got to witness his early years. I just got to witness from when I started watching till now, right? Lewis Hamilton is already one of the greatest drivers Formula One has ever seen, if not the greatest. He has 7 world championships, tied with Michael Schumacher. He has over 100 race wins, over 100 poles, over 100 million everything, right? He has countless records that may never be broken. Yet, despite everything, his legacy feels unfinished. And I feel like he feels that way too, or he wouldn't have left Mercedes for Ferrari. It was a gamble when he did that. But it's paying off, and it looks like it's going to be the right move more and more as we go along. Now, I made this video right after Hungary 2026, so my reaction is not that of the reaction after the race, but a reaction to this season so far as a whole. Lewis Hamilton now sits second in the Drivers' Championship, 50 points behind Kimi Antonelli and 9 points ahead of George Russell. Mercedes have been far and away the best team this season. Kimi Antonelli has far and away been the best driver this season. However, Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari are slowly creeping up, especially Lewis. Now, Leclerc has been having somewhat of a disappointing season, I want to say, because he really should be in that mix with those three drivers. But that's not about Leclerc, and it's not about Ferrari or Mercedes. It's about Lewis Hamilton and who Lewis Hamilton is and what he wants to achieve. Now, Lewis Hamilton began karting at just 8 years old. He was one of the best racing prospects Britain has seen in a long time, and he already signed a contract with McLaren when he was just a kid, and he debuted in 2007. And in his debut season in 2007, he only lost the championship by 1 point, if I'm not mistaken. And he won it the next year in 2008, right? And everybody remembers, is that Glock going slowly? And the rest is history, right? He left McLaren for Mercedes in 2013. At the time, many believed there was a mistake. I even remember the Top Gear episode where I think Jeremy Clarkson asked him, "Isn't it a bit like leaving Manchester United to go to West Ham, something like that, right?" And instead of it becoming the biggest mistake, it became the biggest investment in Formula One history. They won 6 championships together. They dominated an entire generation, and they broke every record. And depending on who you ask, you might get two answers to how many championships Lewis Hamilton has. Because some people might say 7 and some might say 8. In 2021, there was the famous Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, which is a story for another day, a video for another day. I could talk about that for hours, right? It was one of the most controversial championship finales in history, and he lost his eighth title on the final lap. Many believed that that was the end of his career and that, the next few 2 more years, he was just going to ride it out and then retire. But Lewis Hamilton decided that he didn't want to go out like that. He wanted that eighth championship. So he switched to Ferrari and he announced that he was leaving Mercedes, right? Not straight after that season, but the season after that. He announced he would leave Mercedes and sign for Ferrari. This was the most iconic driver team pairing in Formula One history. The most iconic driver joining the most iconic team. It was perfect. Now, his first years at Ferrari were a bit slow, I won't lie. And they weren't there. And they just didn't have the pace. They didn't have the car. They didn't have anything that he needed. And it just looked like a terrible move. And he was going to spend the rest of his career in mediocrity until he retires. But this season, something changed. Ferrari returned to championship contention. Hamilton has been winning races again, and he has remained in the title fight. Although Mercedes has largely set the pace this season, Ferrari comes and goes, right? This season could permanently shape one of the best title fights we see between Kimi Antonelli, who is on the verge of becoming one of the youngest champions ever, if not the youngest, and Lewis Hamilton, who is also on the verge of becoming one of the oldest champions ever, if not the oldest, right? So we have a few scenarios here. Scenario one is if Lewis Hamilton doesn't win this championship against Kimi Antonelli, it doesn't hurt his legacy. He was never poised to win it this season to begin with, and neither was Ferrari poised to win it. It was always going to be Mercedes. So Kimi winning this boosts his legacy by a mile, but it doesn't affect Lewis's legacy, right? He's already a seven-time world champion or an eight-time world champion, and he's one of the undisputed goats of the sport. He has wins with McLaren, he has wins with Mercedes, and he has wins with Ferrari. It's nothing, no knock on him. But if he does win the championship, it's eight world championships. He has the most championships in the sport, the most wins in the sport, the most poles in the sport, the most everything in the sport. It becomes undeniable. His body of work will have become so far and ahead of everybody else that it would seem like just absolutely delusional to call anybody but him the GOAT. That's what's on the line here. That's why it's so low pressure for Lewis Hamilton. That's why I believe it's not too late for him because there is no pressure for him to win this championship. He's already one of the greatest drivers of all time, if not the second or first greatest driver of all time, consensusly by everybody's metrics, right? But if he does win this, he then becomes the greatest driver of all time by all statistics. So there is no risk for him. Lewis Hamilton has been at the top of his game since the moment he stepped in an F1 car. And he has built longevity upon consistency, upon reinventing himself multiple times to win across multiple eras. His first championship came when DRS wasn't a thing, and his latest championship came when DRS was a thing, you know? So he's been succeeding against multiple generations. He's raced against like fathers and sons at this point. He's the LeBron James of F1. That's the only thing to say about him, right? But this Ferrari chapter, he gets to decide one thing. He gets to decide how his career ends. Very few athletes get that luxury. You have to be one of the greatest to do that. Even Ronaldo and Messi now are in the MLS and the Saudi league. Now, I might be a bit biased, but Messi can still play in Europe. I don't know about the other guy. But that's not the story here. Story here is very few people get to choose how they go out in sport. And he gets to choose that. He goes out with Ferrari. He can go out a champion. And if he wins it this season, I won't be surprised if he retires immediately. Because his career had become untouchable. Either way, Lewis Hamilton is one of the greatest drivers the sport has ever seen, if not the greatest. And I will repeat that until my dying breath. Without him, F1 is very different. He has had multiple rivals. Alonso, he's had Button, he's had Verstappen, he's had Rosberg, he's had Vettel, so many different drivers that he's fought with and beaten and been beaten by. But they come and go, and Lewis Hamilton is still here. Max Verstappen is way younger than Lewis Hamilton, and yet he fought him for the championship in 2021, and now it's 2026, and Lewis Hamilton is ahead of him. Maybe that's due to the car, maybe that's due to something else, but Lewis Hamilton is eternal in the sport. Not only because he's been here for a long time, but because his legacy will echo throughout all of F1. And I truly hope he gets a send off he deserves, and we leave as eight-time champions. Forza Lewis.